Hey, welcome into the Snap, episode 203. Crazy to think, Lindo. Episode 200 just like came and went. We weren't even aware. But happy 203 to you and to everybody listening. Guys, we are talking tonight some breakout busts and sleepers for 2022. Not really dynasty related. We're kind of trying to get this into redraft, but it will probably include some rookies. Landon's got his list. I've got my list. We actually haven't discussed them, so that's going to be some fun on the pod tonight to just sort of talk about, perspective as well as counterpoints that we sort of see. It'll be good to talk it out. Happy to have my boy Lando here with me. What's going on?
Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, Mac. It's great to get on the mic with you. We are back to our regular schedule, like I mentioned last week. Happy to talk some fantasy football. I know it's the off season; it's getting into June here, but the boys are here. We've got some great listener questions for today. So if you want to get in on that, join our Discord community. It's in the link in the episode description. But we will also answer some questions in the chat at the end of the episode. So if you are watching this live on YouTube, make sure to drop it in the chat. I put it in the comments already, and we'll get to that at the end. But welcome in, Mac. I'm excited. We got to get some news and notes, and it's fun. It's these buzzwords, sleepers, breakouts, and busts for the 2022 season. And it's early, but we'll be referencing some projections that we have. So maybe some players changing teams.
Yep.
And you have to also, and some ADPs right now, it's early ADPs, but we still have lots of people doing best ball drafts, a lot of drafts on sleeper. So they will change throughout the season, but the fundamentals will be still there. If some of these guys drop an ADP, maybe they will become a value, or they get too high and they're no longer a breakout because they're already going as a top 10 running back, quarterback, wide receiver, what have you.
A note for you to leave a like on this video if you are watching on YouTube, and if you are listening to us on podcast, either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen, feel free to jump over there and give us a follow. Our Discord is also open, happily accepting new members. So go ahead and find that in the episode description. It'll be on YouTube or audio. You can find that link there in the description, and come on over to hang out with us in the crew, the army.
Love that, Mac.
So Lando, why don't you tell us sort of the criteria here for breakout, sleeper, and bust? What constitutes a sleeper? What constitutes a breakout candidate and a bust candidate? What are the things that we're looking for? Because we're not just arbitrarily picking somebody. Like, for example, we're not going to say, Najee Harris is going to be a breakout candidate, because he can't be a breakout candidate. He already broke out. He did finish running back 4 last year. I checked.
Exactly.
So we're not we got to pick somebody from a range. So define those ranges for us. Let the people know what we're talking about tonight.
So as a sleeper candidate, our range is roughly between rounds 10 and up, or going outside the top 30 as far as their positions. And we think they're going to return on value on that draft capital that you spend. So we're not going to expect them to be a breakout top 10, top 12 player at their position, but they will be starting on your fantasy team this year. So late round draft pick that will start on your active roster. As far as a breakout candidate, I want to see someone draft or someone finish in the top 10 or 12 at their position, but that are going outside that range. So if you're going to draft, we'll say Javonte Williams, he's going at running back 10 right now. That's where he's expected to go. So it's one of those things where how can he break out when his draft capital already has him there?
So we're referencing these players at ADP, and
ADP.
Brought this up to me earlier. We kind of talked off camera, like sometimes you can reach for a player because you really like them, and sometimes you have to be a little bit smarter and sit back and kind of wait for them or trade back. And what we're referencing today is ADP as of Tuesday, May 31st is when this is being recorded. Happy birthday to my mother as well. Shout out. We did a nice little birthday dinner tonight.
Yes.
Have you ever tried to pay for your parents' meal?
It's hard.
Might be the hardest thing on the earth.
You got to be sneaky about it. You got to just saunter off and tell the waiter to put it on the credit card right then and there.
My mom was already one step ahead. So, I mean, I tried to. Yeah, I tried.
And
Either way,
so
we're looking at ADP as of today, and lots could change.
Yeah.
But like this is the process. This is what candidates we be picking from the current landscape. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to talk sleepers, breakouts, and busts.
And yeah, so finally my bust candidate. So I want the criteria to be someone you're drafting relatively high, but that finish outside the top 24 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna dictate a lot. So yeah, maybe they're a top 30 player, but not where you drafted them. You drafted them to be a top 10 player. So that is considered a bust in my mind.
And we are referencing sleepers ADP for this segment. Yeah, we looked at Fantasy Football Calculator. We looked at Fantasy Pros and Fantrax, and I think Fantasy Football Calculator right now is actually a little bit lagging. I think it's either not taking into account data from sleeper, or it's just late on data entry. But for example, Elijah Moore was someone who was being drafted in the beginning of the 5th round, and to me that kind of screamed bust candidate for being that high, with guys like Denzel Mims around, them spending a top 10 pick on Garrett Wilson, drafting Breece Hall. It just felt like, oh, he should be sliding a bit more. And then we check sleeper and he's in the 8th round. And that just seems much more appropriate for a guy like Elijah Moore. Yes, he had a great season last year, but I don't think he warrants a 5th round pick ahead of guys like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and a couple others we might talk about tonight. So just your ADP data, I believe that sleeper is the best and the most accurate, and that's what we're going to be using tonight.
And one of those things, and for people listening, that if we call someone a breakout or a bust right now, that could change as the offseason progresses. So the best thing to do is to join that the Discord community, and so you can see and get in our mock drafts that we'll do throughout the offseason as well, because right now they could absolutely change. And the bust, if our bust player starts falling in ADP and now they're getting drafted at wide receiver, running back 24, man, that's no longer bust. That's a value. Take those guys, because right now their ADP could fall for really no reason, or maybe because we're and fantasy analysts are talking about them as busts.
Sure.
If that makes some sense. Love it.
No, I got it. Hey. So what do you want to start with? You want to go in the order of sleepers, breakouts, busts?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, I'll flip it over to you, my man. Who is your early? Well, we won't say way too early, because we weren't around when it was way too early, but it's definitely early. Early sleeper candidate for 2022, positionless. You can pick any position you like.
It depends how, this is early for a lot of people. If you're listening to
You're right.
Our show in June or end of May, you're a diehard fantasy player, and no, nothing's too early for you. But for probably most of the people in your league, they are wondering, what are you doing talking about fantasy football at the end of May? But
fair. Totally fair.
My number one sleeper is going to be Russell Gage, Tampa Bay wide receiver.
Nice.
He is going at wide receiver 50 right now. And on sleeper around pick 127. So roughly the back of the 9th, early 10th round. I'm a little bit cheating as far as where I wanted to be over 10 rounds, but I'm right around that 10th round. So Russell Gage walks into an offense that could have a bunch of vacated targets. Chris Godwin will, I believe, start the year on the PUP. So that's a minimum 6 games that he is going to miss. And if I told you that you could draft the wide receiver 2 on Tampa Bay in the 10th round, you would jump all over that. So his ADP could rise, especially as news comes out as far as Chris Godwin. But it's even possible that Godwin misses the entire season. That injury he had was similar to Saquon Barkley's suffered last year, and it was a full 12 months of recovery, Saquon Barkley. And Saquon doesn't look like the same running back he once was. Not to say that Chris Godwin's career is over by any means, and he could have a miraculous recovery, and he could miss only 6 games. But either way, you could have a lot of targets go to Russell Gage, and I think right now is the time. If you're drafting early enough, this is a phenomenal value, an absolute sleeper. He could see over 100 targets easy as the wide receiver 2 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mac, so I think he could easily finish in the top 30 wide receivers, and he could be a locked and loaded starter on your team. They can't throw everything to Leonard Fournette and Mike Evans. A lot is going to go to Russell Gage. And I heard that as soon as he got traded, Tom Brady sent him a text right away. So the relationship is already there.
Yeah. So this is, I got to switch myself back over. Here we go. This is an interesting candidate for a sleeper. And I like that you called him a sleeper and not a breakout, because at the end of last year, I think he turned a lot of heads. And to your point, they went out and they grabbed him in free agency. Russell Gage was an absolute difference maker in your fantasy playoffs. He balled. I'm trying to get his stats up right now. He was the wide receiver 11 from weeks 11 through 16 in the play. Sorry, I should go to 17, as there were 17 weeks in championship season. He was a baller, man. He was a wide receiver 1 in the back half of the season, and for them to go out and spend that money on a guy, bring him in as soon as he was available, made a lot of sense for them. And your whole argument hinges upon, will Chris Godwin be healthy to start the season? Who knows? The where I come from is, if Chris Godwin is healthy, the wide receiver 3 for Tampa Bay has been very inconsistent. It's been a mix of Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, and we saw Antonio Brown make a little bit of a splash here and there. But the wide receiver 3 for Tampa year over year hasn't been overly lucrative for fantasy relevancy. But if Chris Godwin starts the year on the pup, that's where Russell Gage becomes a potential, we'll just say like a fast track to your season. You got a guy that was late that you can now either use to trade to the Godwin owner or somebody who's very interested, or you can fill him in as a starter, because the wide receiver 2 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially in the Brady era, has been very, very solid. So I like that pick as a sleeper, because there's so much upside that is hidden there, and it all hinges on one player.
Yeah. And you know what? I still think he's a startable asset with Chris Godwin back. He just won't. He's going to be right around that wide receiver, probably 40-ish range, but has upside because, I mean, Tom Brady threw for 5,300 yards last year and 43 touchdowns. And there's no signs of him slowing down.
Isn't that wild?
It's crazy. He was the quarterback 3. So if you start him in a matchup against Kansas City, Dallas, you have plus matchups that they're going to have to throw multiple touchdowns. I wouldn't start Russell Gage with Chris Godwin against the Falcons. They don't need to score as much. But in a shootout, I think Russell Gage, just like Antonio Brown had some viable starts, I think he'll be. And we saw Russell Gage be the number 1 in that Atlanta offense. So we know he can command targets.
100%. Yeah, he showed that. Was really nice for him last year at the end of the season to just show that I can be the guy. If you need someone to handle a workload, to handle volume, I can do it. I can make plays. I can create for myself. I can create separation. Like, he turned a lot of heads, and I got to give him credit. The Buccaneers made a good signing, as they always tend to do. Wild.
So who do you have as a sleeper? I haven't heard this one yet, Mac.
You haven't. I'm really wanting to. I'm going to leave the look on your face here on the screen. I'm going deep. I'm going deep sleeper here. No, not deep. He's actually come up in ADP much more than I thought. He's currently the 123rd player off the board, going in the middle of the 10th round. I'm going with tight end from the Chicago Bears, Mr. Cole Kmet.
Oh, Cole Kmet.
Yes, sir.
Wow. So
Yes,
as a sleeper, you're going from, I picked one of the best offenses of football, and then you picked the Chicago Bears.
I did. I honestly did. Well, okay. So part of this is due to Cole Kmet's development the last 2 seasons, and the other is just looking at the depth chart of the Chicago Bears.
Sure.
When we look at wide receiver 1, Darnell Mooney, I mean, that's a great candidate for a potential breakout. Just with the amount of volume he's going to probably see, going to be wild. Wide receiver 1, Darnell Mooney. Wide receiver 2, Byron Pringle. Wide receiver 3, Equanimous St. Brown. Backing up Pringle and Brown right now is 25-year-old rookie Velus Jones and Dante Pettis.
Wow.
Oh, I should also add in backing up Darnell Mooney is Tajay Sharp.
They're just scrounging the depths of old fantasy darlings that no longer are relevant.
Their best pass catchers might be David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, and Darnell Mooney.
Khalil is an interesting sleeper based on that depth chart.
He is. So you look last year, and Kmet had a lot of, I guess, ups and downs or inconsistency in where he got his targets from, because it was a constant shuffle between Dalton and Fields. And this year, it's the presumed very confident starter in Justin Fields. And that's got to be good for him going forward. Had to have some consistency, someone he can build chemistry with. The other thing is, when you look at the development of Cole Kmet, rookie season, tight end 43, only had 44 targets, caught 28 of them, 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. Last year, with inconsistent quarterback play, was the 8th most targeted tight end at 93 targets, caught 60 of them, had 612 yards and 0 touchdowns. He finished as the tight end 22. With a handful of touchdowns, he's in the top 15, no question. If he had scored 6 touchdowns, he would have tied Noah Fant as the tight end 12. And 6 touchdowns is nothing crazy for a tight end, especially one that has a almost 20% red zone target share, 19.7%. So you look at Cole Kmet, you look at the lack of talent and competition for targets. This just makes a lot of sense for me. And this is somebody who, if I'm going to play the late tight end strategy, I'm going to punt the position a little bit. This is one that makes sense for me, and where he just has to get a little bit of red zone volume, catch a couple touchdowns, and he's automatically in the mix. Other nice nuggets. He was 5th in slot snaps at 253, 6th in deep targets, 9, and 9th in air yards at 737 air yards. Just kind of tells you where he's being targeted a little bit more downfield. So I like a lot of things for Cole Kmet going into 2022. And for that reason, he is my sleeper.
I really like that. Going at tight ends like 17 right now, that's an absolute steal.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of Kmet. I love looking at mock drafts, or real drafts for that matter, that have 2 of these late guys. You get Noah Fant and Cole Kmet. You get these players. You have 2 dart throws, 2 athletic, keyword, dart throws at the tight end position, because we've seen this happen time and time again where these late round guys, Darren Waller was one at one point. And tight end is so inconsistent. Anyways, we already have George Kittle with a lower body injury, going to miss all of OTAs. So why not take a shot for free, basically, on a guy like Cole Kmet, instead of taking that high draft capital, brittle Kittle, and then your team is very brittle, for lack of a better term. It's very fragile.
Brittle Kittle.
It's very fragile, and where you could have a guy like Cole Kmet and Chris Timmons, one of our OG listeners, fan of Chris, myself, is a fan of Cole Kmet.
Yes, sir, as he should be. Nice to see those takes are aligned.
Love it. Love it.
Sir. All right, I'll flip it over to you. Do you want to go breakouts or busts?
So I'll go breakout.
Okay. I'll go
breakout.
Okay.
And because I had to pivot with my breakout, because for full transparency, I had Cam Akers as my breakout candidate.
Like it.
And but he's getting a little bit too high. So depending on where he is going and getting drafted, I think Cam Akers is an excellent running back. But my true one, because he's still getting pushed down the ADP, is J.K. Dobbins. Both of these guys are players that my eyes gravitate towards because they have a third-year opportunity to absolutely break out, because They're on good offenses that run the ball effectively, that have all the opportunity in the world to be that top 10 running back. And so taking these guys late in the third, fourth, fifth round, when they have the chance to be essentially next year a top 10 pick, I think is just a no-brainer. Now, of course, I love the running backs, the Breece Halls of the world. Hey, Ken Walker has an opportunity, but these guys are still young. Both of them are about 22, 23 years old. They fit the build. They are able to catch passes and score touchdowns because they're on good offenses. And that's the criteria you need to be a breakout. Being on a bad team, you're going to have to get a massive amount of target share. You're going to score a lot of touchdowns like a James Robinson from years past. So getting a guy like J.K. Dobbins that might start the year on the pup. So you might have to go robust running back. If you go early with like a Travis Kelce, a George Kittle, a quarterback, you should not be drafting a J.K. Dobbins. So you can't take my word as gospel when I say you need to draft a breakout candidate, J.K. Dobbins, but you should definitely be looking his way. If you have some stud running backs to start, maybe you had the 101, you took Jonathan Taylor, then you can afford to draft J.K. Dobbins, and then you have a chance to have a difference maker down the stretch when you absolutely need it on a very good Baltimore offense. I think he has a great chance. When I saw J.K. Dobbins a couple years ago, I was a big fan. I think he is set for a breakout candidate or breakout season this year when he is fully healthy.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of J.K. Dobbins, and especially when you look at the Ravens, who are such a run-heavy team. And I know that people say, well, Lamar is part of that. He's a big part of the game plan. Yes, but they are still year over year a top 3 rushing team. Just the amount of volume that they have on the ground through, if it's going to be Dobbins and Edwards as a tandem, or mixing that in with Lamar. Dobbins is not incapable. He's a very good pass catching back. I think he would have had a great season last year had it not been cut short to an injury. And when you look at the injuries that are existing with some of these running backs, Marlon Mack, for example, James Robinson, Cam Akers, the Achilles injury, something like an MCL or ACL is not as concerning to me as those Achilles type injuries. So I am hopeful with a full year of rehab and rest, because this injury did happen in preseason last year. In practice, both of them. Ravens got to figure out the practice, by the way.
No kidding. Change that practice field.
I sincerely think that he's going to be ready. He's going to be explosive. He's going to look like a potential league winner, and I'm with you on that one. He was an honorary mention for me, so I had him. I ended up not going with him for a reason you're about to find out, but yeah.
If you're in a dynasty league right now, go knock on the J.K. Dobbins door, the owner's door, and see if you can get, maybe not directly go after J.K., but say, you know what? He's injured. Don't love him, but I'll take him.
I did just acquire J.K. Dobbins.
Bang, bang. Love that.
Fun. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go over to my side here with the breakout. I will go through my honorary mentions first, and I'll see how you feel about them.
Okay.
Courtland Sutton was my honorary mention for breakout.
Excellent.
And if I'm going to plant a flag on the one that is most likely to happen, it's probably Courtland Sutton, like cracking the top 12 wide receivers. When you look at Russell Wilson and his ability to support, handle, bring along 2 top 20 wide receivers, his resume is quite long. Year over year, it's been Lockett and Metcalf the last couple years, but we go back and it's, Lockett and Baldwin. And then we had Golden Tate and I think it was either Doug Baldwin or Tyler Lockett, but year over year, he's had 2 wide receivers in the top 20. And he brings that to Denver that is just so aligned to explode. Like having a guy like Courtland Sutton, having a guy like Jerry Jeudy, a really athletic tight end in Albert O, a nice shiny running back in Javonte Williams, a vet in Melvin Gordon. there's so much to like here, and Russell just comes in and gets to let it fly. So I'm not sure that the situation that he comes into is drastically better, but it's definitely better than what he had in Seattle. And Denver, I know Seattle likes to be a run-first team. I think Denver has always typically tried to do that too. But when did the Denver Broncos find immediate success and even with fantasy success when they brought in Peyton Manning and they made that Super Bowl run? They had a great defense, elite defense, but they brought in the signal caller to do it. I think Russell brings a lot to the table. You could make the argument for Sutton and Judy. I'm going to make it for Sutton. That's going to be my guy. And then the other one is Zach Wilson. I almost put Zach Wilson on here as a breakout candidate. But he was just a little bit too far down for me.
Yeah, just to get that straight, that was your Cortland Sutton honorable mention. That was
honorable.
That was a good argument. That was
honorable mention. Look, I said if I'm going to plant a flag, that's going to be my guy.
All right. You know Zach Wilson. I think that's interesting. He to finish that high as a breakout, like top 10 quarterback. I know he's got a lot of good weapons, but I agree that would be a bit of a leap.
Everyone forgets that they still have Corey Davis.
Yeah.
You know, Corey Davis was the wide receiver 1 for this team for the longest time. Had he not get injured, he would have been that on the season, but Elijah Moore took it over. They replaced Elijah Moore with Garrett Wilson. They drafted Breece Hall. They still have Michael Carter. There's a lot of good stuff having. There's literally no reason for him not to improve on last year. So
by the Jets.
True breakout is the man you see on the thumbnail. It's Christian Watson from the Green Bay Packers, rookie wide receiver out of North Dakota State University. I have to stay true to the green and gold. You guys know me. I'll stay right on brand. I've come to really like Christian Watson as I watch more tape, as I do more digging. This is a guy who's getting a lot of support from the organization. He's turning a lot of heads at camp. And
did you see the reports today of him dropping balls?
I saw the reports of Jamar Chase dropping balls in preseason too. I mean, look, it does not bother me one bit.
Just wanted to make sure.
Do you know that there are stripes on the college ball? It makes it easier to see. No, look, like there's going to be growing pains with any rookie that comes into the league. Some acclimate much better than others, and others just are Jalen Reagor. And shots fired. Summer N'Keal Harry, free N'Keal. I just look at Christian Watson and I just think, you know, Green Bay has not done anything to address the position. Jarvis Landry was just sitting there for weeks upon even month upon month and didn't make a move on him. Will Fuller's still out there, no urgency to sign him. Are they really going to go into the season with Randall Cobb, Sammy Watkins, Alan Lazard, Christian Watson, and Romeo Doubs, who they just drafted, returning Robert Tonyan? I think the answer is yes. I think that they feel they have enough that they can make it work. They'll probably go run heavy with Jones and Dillon, and they'll use Christian Watson as their replacement for Devontae Adams. But there's a big hole that's left here. And I think Christian Watson with 4.3 speed at 6'4", actually I think he's 6'5", is a freak. He's a freak athlete. He brings a lot to the team. And we lost Marquez Valdes-Scantling, which I said a couple pods ago. He's the number 1 leader in yards per reception since 2019. So you talk about a big playability piece gone from this offense. There it is. He's gone to Kansas City. Like, they need more of that. Christian Watson, though, profiles to be a guy that has made huge play after huge play in college. So very good with the football, can create for himself. If I could find a Vegas sportsbook that had Christian Watson receptions to break that all-time Aaron Rodgers record of 39, I would smash the over.
Wow, Christian Watson. Hey, man, I mean, the vacated targets are there. Aaron Rodgers is there. They need to throw someone the football. They need to trust the next Devontae Adams, and I hope that is Christian Watson for your sake.
Now, I just want to clarify one thing before I pass it on to you.
Yeah,
Christian Watson, although I'm calling breakout, what would be a breakout in my eyes? And I'm looking for a wide receiver too. I'm hoping that he falls within the top 24. I don't project he's going to be a guy like Jamar Chase who comes out and finishes as a top 5 wide receiver on the year.
Gotcha.
I don't foresee that happening. I'm not saying that it couldn't. I'm just saying I don't plan on that happening. I think absolute success for him to be a breakout year one would be a top 24 wide receiver. So that's what I'm hoping happens for Christian Watson.
And I mean,
he's being drafted in the 10th round.
Yeah, exactly. Based on his ADP, you can get him right around that Russell Gage area.
Sorry, 9.5. He's in the middle of the 9th round right now.
Right.
So that could climb, but as of right now, I think that's a really good spot for him because he'd be like your wide receiver 4 or 5.
Yep.
Good upside play.
And again, when we're talking about these players, it does how you're building your team dictates who you're drafting in these positions.
Yeah.
If you're drafting rookies, maybe don't take a Christian Watson and maybe take a Russell Gage type. Like they're two different players. If you need that upside and you have a bunch of safety at the wide receiver position, absolutely try to hit for that home run and go with Christian Watson. Both are viable options. It just depends how you're building these teams. And that's why you need to stay tuned to the Snap Boys to get the best strategy to build the best championship roster to help you win your leagues. But it really, needs to be some context when drafting these players.
Armin, man, back to you. We are talking about the bust candidates,
right.
And we'll have many more, but these are just our, again, early candidates for sleeper breakout busts. For those people just joining us or who have forgotten, if you have a memory like me, go ahead, Lando, and tell them who your sleeper and your breakout were so far.
Russell Gage as my sleeper, being drafted a wide receiver 50. And then we have J.K. Dobbins from Baltimore, drafted as running back 22-ish area. And then who are yours, Mac?
Oh, my sleeper's Cole Kmet from the Bears. He is currently the 123rd player off the board just in the beginning of the 10th round. And then I've got my breakout candidate as Christian Watson, middle of the 9th round for the Green Bay Packers.
Love that. You went off the board. I love these picks, Mac.
I did.
So my bust candidate, big name, that's going to be Tyreek Hill.
Oh, boy.
Wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. Now, if Miami got Tom Brady, like the rumors had this offseason, maybe he would be my breakout candidate or my locked and loaded wide receiver 1. But with Tua Tagovailoa, I unfortunately think he will be bust this year. He's going at wide receiver 7, and I cannot see a range where Tyreek Hill gets his, and then also Jaylen Waddles gets his. And I think they overpaid Tyreek Hill. I just can't imagine that they get the volume, that Tyreek gets the volume he needs to return on that draft capital. But so I'm thinking he'll have a fine season. But he'll be a fringe wide receiver 2. He's not going to be that wide receiver 1 this year, and it's going to be based off of big play abilities. It was only a few years ago that Tyreek Hill was an inconsistent player with one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and now he has Tua. And I know the rumors and the camp hype is going to say that Tua is the next coming and his spiral is the cleanest that Tyreek's ever caught, what have you. But the volume cannot be there unless Tua takes an absolutely magical, monstrous step forward. He needs to throw the football. He basically needs to double his attempts somehow from what he had last year. I know he only played 13 games, but he needs to have a serious jump forward in efficiency, depth of target, everything. Tua needs to throw touchdowns. He only threw 10 or 16 last year, but had 10 interceptions. I don't know if the Miami Dolphins have enough for Tyreek Hill to return that value. I prefer Jaylen Waddles. I can actually look to see where Jaylen Waddles is going, but both of these guys are going early, and so at wide receiver 14, Jaylen Waddles being drafted. So people are hedging right now because they don't know. They don't know who's going to be a wide receiver 1. And at this point in their career, at age 23 years old, I think I'd bet on Jaylen Waddles. I'd rather have him, especially at their ADP, Waddle over Tyreek Hill. They're both a very similar archetype player, yards after catch, and I don't buy it, Mac. What are your thoughts on Tyreek? What are your thoughts on that ADP?
Oh man. Look, I think there's going to be two camps when it comes to the Miami Dolphins this year. You're either going to be in on Waddle and Tyreek as fantasy assets, and you're just going to have to accept the fact that you have to bump up Tua Tagovailoa. There's no other way around it. The other way is you just realize Tua is what Tua is, and that Waddle and Hill are both going to suffer. So there has to be some adjustment somewhere. You can't have your cake and eat it too in this situation. And I just want to sort of look back to last year. And if you go back even further, year over year, the same correlation exists. If you're looking at a team that supports two top 24 wide receivers, which Waddle and Hill both were last year, their quarterbacks are top 12 quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa finished as quarterback 26 last year. So if we looked back last year, there were 5 duos: Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Joe Burrow finished as a top 12 quarterback. We had Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen was the wide receiver 23 despite missing 4 games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you talk about the touchdowns that man
Red
catches,
zone
but
monster.
Red zone monster, regardless. If you wanted to put in like Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and you wanted to classify Kelce as a wide receiver, he would fall in the top 24 wide receivers on a points per game, but we'll discount that. We won't count those two. Tyreek Hill was the wide receiver 6. We have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin at 9 and 12. Tom Brady was the quarterback 3, as you mentioned. We have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, who were 10 and 19. Russell Wilson was a fringe quarterback 1. We also had, who is my other duo? I just lost it for a second. Oh, Dallas was very close with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, but Amari Cooper was just outside. I feel like I was missing one more. Did I say Mike? Oh, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen were the other one. Justin Herbert was a stud once again last year. So all of those guys, those 5, and if you want to count Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, you could go a 6th, but all of their quarterbacks were top 12 quarterbacks. The same thing has to exist, I believe. There's just, you would have to have some sort of outlier abnormality for those guys to be top 24 wide receivers and Tua not come close to scratching the surface on QB1. So if you're going to be bullish on those two, I think you have to be bullish on Tua as well. And if you're not bullish on Tua, you need to reevaluate how you feel about Waddle and Hill.
Yeah, and I think there's an opportunity for Tua to take that step forward. It's going to be based on touchdowns, I think.
Yeah.
He's got all the weapons, similar to Zach Wilson. I mean, he's got everything he needs there in Miami. I'll be excited to watch this team play. See if they can push the ball downfield, or if it's just right around the line of scrimmage and bank on Tyreek and Waddle getting those yards.
Here we go. Yeah, I like it. I've got Tyreek Hill in a couple leagues. I think I'm waiting on him personally just to kind of see how things look and feel. And hey, Tua could break out. I'm not against that possibility. I'm obviously hopeful if I'm an owner, but I'm playing this one by ear. I'm not moving I'm not moving Tyreek Hill at this point. I'm not selling low, but
all right.
I hope he doesn't bust, but it's a good candidate. It really is. Given ADP for sure. Mine is going to be similar to yours in terms of notoriety. I even stick at the wide receiver position. AJ Brown, Eagles wide receiver.
Wow. Your hate for Jalen Hurts has no bounds.
You saw right through it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Look, currently the ADP of 24. So he's going at the end of your second round in a 12-team half PPR league. AJ Brown's fantasy finishes the last 2 years. In 2020, he was wide receiver 14. In 2021, he was wide receiver 32. Do you know what the biggest or the most important thing that people talk about when they talk about business or real estate, for example, Landon? What is the thing that matters most?
The location.
Well, you're in the home market right now. Eh?
Yeah. Location.
Location. That location is not Philadelphia. Because in Philadelphia, we have a lack of targets, right? So I want to play a little game with you. When was the last time the Eagles had a wide receiver inside the top 15?
Oh, Alshon Jeffrey, I bet.
What year?
I don't know, 17, 18?
It was 2017.
I'm on fire.
Alshon Jeffrey in 2017 was the wide receiver 15. I didn't want to go back any further because I was starting to get nauseous. Let's review the last couple years, though. 2021, Devontae Smith, wide receiver 31.
Okay.
2020, Greg Ward Jr., wide receiver 55.
Remember the hype on? Was it Greg Ward? Who was the Eagles guy that just broke out of nowhere? His name escapes me now.
It escapes me as well. I remember calling him a bust
for like a hot second. That guy was on fire. Anyways,
oh, that's gonna bug me now.
Yeah.
I have to go back and look at that. 2019, wide receiver 54, a broken and battered Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah.
2018, 31, Alshon Jeffrey. And 2017, 15, Alshon Jeffrey. Right. So it's been since 2017 that they even had somebody in the top 30. This is not a team that has supported wide receivers, especially not two of them. You talk about who does this benefit more? Devontae Smith having A.J. Brown or A.J. Brown having Devontae Smith? It helps Devontae Smith. This does not help A.J. Brown. And when you talk about A.J. Brown, some things that I want to bring up that I'm a little bit concerned with. He's had injuries to his chest, to his calf, to his hamstring, and he's had surgery on both of his knees.
Yeah.
He's only 20. He's only 24.
I thought your question was going to be, what's the big stability for a wide receiver? Availability. That's
availability.
Where you me.
You really want me to hammer all those innuendos?
Yeah.
You're right. My hate for Jalen Hurst does know no bounds. I think he's going to be fine for fantasy. I think his mobility and inability, I guess, to throw the ball is going to lead to some good fantasy performances. But we can't neglect the fact that the Eagles were dead last in passing play percentage. Ryan Tannehill, although the volume was never there for A.J. Brown, the efficiency was absolutely there. When you have a run game that can dominate a game script, it opens up the pass when you got to stack the box to stop Derrick Henry. So A.J. Brown, although he didn't have many games where he had, a handful of targets, look what happened when he returned that one game. What did he have? 15, 16 targets?
Oh, that was
monstrous game.
Awesome game.
A.J. Brown's an unbelievable talent. I don't think Philadelphia is the spot. I'm very, very concerned. I would be panic selling A.J. Brown in a dynasty league. But I think that you can find people that do believe in him. So I think you can get value. I think name value is super, super high. But I personally don't believe in it.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Welcome to Snap Army member Sean Temps.
Hey, welcome in, Sean.
Join in the Snap Army. I'll add you into the private Discord community. We can get some feedback from some really great guys.
What did somebody call it once? The adults table of fantasy football?
That's it. The regular Discord is for the kids.
It's table. Yeah. We got the adults table.
And the private one is where it's at. So appreciate you coming in. If y'all want to support Mac and I and producer Scott to continue this journey of fantasy football and answering all the questions and helping you with anything, we're talking life advice in that private Discord channel. Support us. It's meant just to show support for the guys. We'll probably use the money to give it back to the community with a jersey or something this year. So appreciate it, Sean Temps, and anyone else, hit that join button on our YouTube channel, and we very much appreciate it.
I'm also thinking about giving away some cards. Like I got a lot of PSA cards coming back.
Okay, Sean is a card aficionado. He loves.
I'll flash a couple here. So I got some Jamar Chase rookies that I have raw. I haven't got graded, but got a couple nice ones here.
Not a big deal.
I've got a couple Joey B 10s. But down here we've got some nice ones. I really thought this one would come back at 10, but just a Joe Burrow dynamic.
Man.
Thought that Jordan Love one would have paid off, but we got some Cam Akers 10s, some pristine 10s. You got the
breakouts.
Cam Akers pink camo.
Oh, get it.
A 10, gem mint 10. We've got some prisms, Cam Akers prisms. We have a CD Lamb disco prism, which is very, very nice. A 9, unfortunately, and then another prism 9. I got lots of nice stuff. I got some Herbert 10s. I got some Burrow 10s. So maybe we'll give one of those away as well.
All right. So
I'm willing.
Now that Sean Temps is a part of the Snap Army and he's salivating over those cards, he sent me a chat earlier privately. He is in a Superflex Dynasty League, and he has an offer for Deshaun Watson. I just sent you a text with it. Sends Deshaun Watson and a 2023 second and receives the aforementioned Cam Akers, a 2023 first, and a 2023 third round pick.
This is a Superflex Dynasty League.
Superflex Dynasty League. He needs a running back, but I mean, at that point, like, is that too much? Do you want more for Deshaun? Or with this news about Deshaun Watson and a 23rd allegation towards him, should you be selling Deshaun Watson for this package?
I would accept this. I would be, as a Deshaun Watson owner, trying to get out from him as soon as possible. Just like every person that's made an allegation against him. Probably just trying to get out from under him.
Oh, God.
No, look, do I think Deshaun Watson is special? Absolutely. Do I think he brings a lot to the Cleveland Browns? Yes. I think Amari Cooper's a potential like sleeper candidate this year of somebody who could be like a top 10 wide receiver. Like He has so much potential with a guy like Deshaun Watson, but there's still so much uncertainty about Deshaun Watson. What suspension looms? How long is he going to be out for? If it comes back that Deshaun Watson is out for the entire season, which who knows, but more allegations. There is a documentary coming out against Deshaun Watson with interviews of the alleged victims. Yes. Yeah, they're coming out with a documentary, and it's going to be released before the season, which is not great for the public perception of Deshaun Watson. So yes, I would absolutely take this deal. I would take the 2023 first, which the 2023 class is going to be fantastic. Loads of running backs, a handful of really elite wide receivers, and finally some elite quarterbacks. So I would absolutely take it. Hope Cam Akers absolutely breaks out and enjoy that first.
Yeah, just because I'm greedy and you know me, I would take out your second that you're giving away, but I would I think Mac's right. I mean, the Cam Akers, I think it's either on one side of the spectrum, like me, where you think Cam Akers is a breakout candidate, or you're scared because of his playoff 2.5 yards per carry. Oh, love that. I
forgot that we have this to give away as well. Like Cam Akers signed NFL football from Pristine Auction. So there you go. Authenticated. That is also, we were going to give it away last year. Compliments of Chelly D, but sadly he tore that Achilles and we just didn't give it away.
That needs to go you need to give that away to me to go on my wall.
It's going to stay right here.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. Well, thanks, Sean,
I would do the deal, Sean. Absolutely.
Yeah.
With confidence.
Perfect. So we have another question you put in there from Discord.
I'll pop it up on the screen.
CMC Christian McCaffrey. What are your thoughts on buying him right now? Seems like you can get him for a discount versus where he was going last year at this time. Is now the time to buy?
I kind of see this as more of a dynasty question, and the person that posted this in our Discord did not specify. But I'm going to say that in a dynasty league, I would buy Christian McCaffrey if I was contending. Anybody who's in, the middle of the road or rebuilding, God forbid, CMC is not a guy that I'd go out and get. If I had CMC and I was looking to rebuild, I would absolutely sell him off. I think if I was buying CMC, I would be willing to pay, a younger player and a first round pick. I think the days of paying up for CMC, 2, 3 firsts potentially are gone. And I think that, is he worth that? Potentially, yes. If he returns to form and stays healthy, he's absolutely a league winner. We know what he can do, but you need to use his resume against him. If you are buying him, you need to try to get that discount and say, he hasn't played a full season the last 2 seasons. He's played 16 games over the last 2 seasons. I need to pay a little less. So maybe we piece off like, I don't know, a James Cook and a first would be a strong offer at this point for Christian McCaffrey. I think. I'm a little bit down on Christian McCaffrey, to be honest with you.
And you know what? People, I think, will be up on James Cook based on that offense that he's in. The name value, like I talked about weeks back.
Wanting to sign JD McKissick and missing. They clearly want somebody who can catch the football.
Mm-hmm. And that's James Cook's specialty. So it's interesting. And I was never thrilled with James Cook going into the draft, but that Buffalo being on that team with Josh Allen, just now there's a shine to it even more.
Yep.
Interesting. Love it.
We got another question from the Discord, which I'll post here. Discord. How much is too much for Jonathan Taylor in a startup dynasty auction? Oh boy.
Interesting.
Let's assume a $200 budget. I feel like that's pretty standard.
Yep. You will be in leagues where he gets bought or bid up way too much, like $68 something for Jonathan Taylor, and I would not pay that for him.
85.
Oh. So
I've seen 85.
Yep. Would you say 68 is too much?
I feel like it's right in the realm of possibilities. Okay. I think when you go more than $70, I mean, 68 is bordering, but as soon as you go more than $70 on one player, it really pigeonholes you into that player being a league winner. Like, you need Jonathan Taylor at $70 to be exactly what he was last year and a bit more. Your money runs out fast and you don't realize it. And that's why, if you guys go back and listen to our auction strategy, or you go watch our video about auctions, using a budget is really a really solid idea. I set out for myself in, let's just say, a pretty standard half PPR league. If I need 2 running backs, I might set aside like, $80 for my running backs, or $100 if I want to go heavy. How I spend that $100 is totally dependent on the draft and how it unfolds. And if I come out of the gate swinging and I go after Jonathan Taylor and I spend 70, that really limits me to what I can do for the rest of my running back position, only having $30 to fill, 2 or 3 more spots. And whereas if you go out and you spend 70 on Taylor and 65 on Christian McCaffrey, now you've spent $135 on 2 absolute stud players, but you have no money left to fill your team with. And that's where you see teams get really, really short on depth. And in the end, the aggregate, I think you lose.
If you are in an auction draft with Mackenzie, I wouldn't spend $70 on Jonathan Taylor, because he is going to kill you with his values later on. So you need people your opponents to really spend up on those other players. And if they don't go for that, if all of the running backs go under $40 or under $50, yep, you are in a world of hurt. You're not going to have any depth. You need those players. You need the McCaffreys of the world to go for in the 60s if you're going to spend that kind of money on JT.
If the first player off the board is Jonathan Taylor and everyone's a little bit gun shy and I can get him for 50, like, I'll take him for 50. He'll be on my team. If he goes for 70, 75, I'm going to let him go. And I'm, like you said, I'm going to dominate the draft and get depth. And then I'm going to just 2 for 1 or 3 for 2 trade my way up to get Jonathan Taylor.
There you go.
I'm going to target him. So I'll get him somehow if I really want him, but it might not be in the draft. And I think that's another thing that you guys need to be a little bit cognizant of, is just like, I don't have to get every player that I want right now in this moment and blow my wallet on them. I can get them some other way. And that's targeting managers' weaknesses. And when you have the answers to their problems, you can facilitate trades and get the players you want in return.
Love that. I can't wait for our auction video to come out. We will be doing
Yeah.
that in the coming weeks.
Question from the Discord. I believe it was easy. What are your thoughts and evaluations for value on Michael Thomas for redraft and dynasty leagues?
I'll be honest, Mac,
I'm not very high.
I'm
just gonna say that.
concerned.
Yeah.
I'm concerned. He's going as a top 20 wide receiver right now in mock drafts, and he relied on the targets and the depth of targets of about 7 yards, but hyper targeted, very sure hands after really not playing for multiple years and now going from Drew Brees to Jameis Winston, who hasn't been an efficient or volume passer. Yeah, I'm concerned. I am out on Michael Thomas as far as dynasty. Like, I'm not interested in acquiring him in dynasty. As for redraft leagues, it's gonna be based on just the value. If he starts dropping to the 30s, mid 30s, yeah, sure. Maybe I'll be interested. If it's Gabriel Davis or Michael Thomas, maybe I'll take a shot on Thomas. But it's got to be a value before I'm even looking his way.
I think the other thing too that's concerning about Michael Thomas is every single time you hear somebody speak about his rehab, it's never promising. It's like Michael Thomas is not doing as well as we'd hope. Michael Thomas is behind schedule. We're hopeful that Michael Thomas will be at training camp, but it's not certain. Like, everything is just a little bit pessimistic. There's not a lot of optimism, and who knows if Michael Thomas even wants to play for the Saints anymore. I think if I'm looking at ADP right now and him being the 57th player off the board, that's in the fifth round. I'm out. Like, I'm out. Yeah, it's too much. Like, is Jameis Winston capable of throwing Michael Thomas 185 balls like he saw in 2019? Sure. Yeah. Jameis is not afraid to throw the rock. Are they going to connect 149 of those 185 times like him and Drew Brees did? Probably not. Is he going to have 1,700 yards receiving? Probably not.
Nope.
This was also Michael Thomas, who was in elite shape. I don't know what kind of shape he's in. He's played football in a year and a half. So I am not very hopeful for MT. I would be fading him in a dynasty league, and I would probably be passing on him in a redraft.
Right. Yeah. I'm pretty much out on him.
When you look at, like, okay, Michael Thomas is sandwiched right now in a redraft, like in a startup. Michael Pittman, Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson, Cortland Sutton, DeAndre Hopkins, who's suspended for 6 games. Would you rather have any of those guys over Michael Thomas? Pittman, Robinson, Sutton, DeAndre Hopkins suspended for 6.
I think I'd rather all of them.
I think so too.
Yeah.
At least I know what DeAndre Hopkins still is.
Yeah. At least it's not an injury that he's coming back from. He should be in good shape, and he has a Kyler Murray, an elite quarterback.
Yeah. Question here from the YouTubes. Gator fan, how do you guys balance an auction not going all in for your guys, but at the same time walking away feeling sad because you missed out? It's a good question.
And that's where we benefit. That's why we're good at auction drafts. You especially.
If you haven't watched the video, Josh, you should definitely go back and check that out. I believe it's in our most watched section. If you just go to the YouTube page, auction drafting. A good way to target the guys that you want is actually not nominating them. So, for example, in the first round, if I want Dalvin Cook, let's just say, I'm not going to nominate Dalvin Cook. I'm going to nominate Derrick Henry. Yeah. Or vice versa. If I want Derrick Henry, I'm going to nominate someone who's going to go fetch a high price tag and take money out of my opponent's wallets. That's your goal every single time. And honestly, where it hurts people the most is when you spend, $25 or $30 on a wide receiver. Because there are so many more wide receivers than running backs, positional scarcity is not as great. But when people start paying top tier dollar for wide receivers, it really depletes their budget. So to get your guys without having to overpay for them, I would say at every chance you have, and a bit of it is luck, but try to nominate players that you don't want that other people will and will spend up to get them.
And a lot of the luck has to do with guys at the end of the tiers. So
Right.
if Gator fan here, Josh, wants a player, but everyone has their eye on that last player in the tier because they missed out before. Now they're going to overpay for a guy that they don't necessarily want. They don't want the more than Gator fan here, but he's the last of the good wide receivers or the good running backs. So then you get overpaid and you don't get your guys. I wouldn't worry about it too much. There's always guys to get. We don't hate guys. We hate the ADPs. We hate the amount of money you have to spend on these guys. If you could get like Terry McLaurin for $4, or you get an Elijah Moore for $12, you could love Elijah Moore. But
Right.
What are you going to do with that scenario? Like, you're going to take Terry McLaurin every single time, even though you don't like the Commanders. Like, who cares? So
Right.
you like guys more. You get your guys because you get them at fair value. And I think that's the strategy you need to go in. You get tons of depth, and you'll win your league if you have the depth, because chaos happens in the fantasy season, and depth is going to be your friend.
I think what I'm going to do real quick is just share my screen from that auction draft that we did and just kind of discuss how things can sort of present themselves when you're patient and you wait. And my team looks very different now. I've made 4 trades since this draft, which was 2 weeks ago now. It's a super flex league. I spent my money on my quarterbacks. I got Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Tua, and then I picked up Ryan Tannehill for cheap. But what you see here is that the value for players just starts to go down because no one has any money left. So, you see Pat Mahomes and Justin Herbert and Josh Allen going for 50, kind of as they should, but that money just isn't available to hang on. So if you look down my team, I didn't really have any studs. I mean, I paid up for DeAndre Swift. He was an end of a tier player for me. I got a deal on Travis Etienne, and then I really started getting deals. $6 for Miles Sanders, $4 for Terry McLaurin, $7 for Jerry Jeudy, $5 for Garrett Wilson, $3 for Tyler Lockett. We go down the list. Christian Watson for $7, Hopkins for $12, Juju for $9, James Cook for $5, Kareem Hunt for $3, Spiller $3, Melvin Gordon $3, Penny $1, Claypool, Chark, Dotson all for $4. I had a very deep team and I traded half of them away already, but I had the depth to make trades. And I think that's kind of where I'm happy with that. And my team now looks very, very different. This is the team I have now. Wilson, Swift, Dobbins, Adams, McLaurin, Kelsey, Waller, Etienne, Judy, and Carr. So I've
your
made
team looks really good right now.
It's turned itself around.
Yeah, and that's what depth absolutely gets you. It's a great example. Max is very good at auction drafts and being patient and passing on guys you like, but because they're getting bid up and overspent, you get them after you trade for them. So that's why this is the reason why we started that league, is to be an active 365 year-round dynasty league that's active, and that's so far it's been good. So it's been great.
It's been great, yeah. And that kind of reminds me something to announce before we take off here. 2022 Listener League. Snap Boys are coming off our first victory in 4 seasons as Listener League champions. If you want to be in the Listener League, in our Discord, you can go ahead and leave a note for us. You can tell us, why do you deserve to be in the league? What do you bring to the table? And we don't care how many championships you've won. That means nothing to either of us. But we want to know, what do you bring to the table? Why would you make the league better? Why would you be fun to play with? We had people write us songs last year. We had some video submissions. We had a great crew. And we'd like to run it back with another great crew again this year. So join the Discord if you're not already in there. If you are, just go to the channel that says Listener League and drop us a line. We're going to start pulling people from the Discord soon to fill that league. There are 11 spots available in Dynasty. Nate, we took out in the final last year. He is going to help us with the scoring settings, but each and every year it is a very unique set of scoring systems.
Perfect. Well, that's it for today for me, Mac. Any final things?
No. Next Tuesday, same time, same place, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Landon and I will be live again. If you have any topics that you want to put in or interesting segments that you want us to try out, let us know in the Discord. Let us know on YouTube if you are watching. A comment on the video would be awesome. And other than that, we'll see you next Tuesday, and we'll definitely have some videos coming to you guys on YouTube soon as well. So have a great week, and Lando and I see you next Tuesday.
Goodbye.